All righty. Dana, you want to do you want to go ahead and get us started?
Sure. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on our One Small Step Kickoff webinar. We're really excited to kick off the 2015 season. We have a ton of new interest from new families and returning hosts as well, so we're excited to make this our biggest season yet. Throughout the presentation, you guys are welcome to ask questions. We would love to hear from you. Everyone is on mute by default, so you can raise your hand by using the control panel. You can type in questions at any time, and we'll answer the questions throughout the conference. Afterward, if you'd like to email me, you're more than welcome to at danacapobianco@gmail.com. And the webinar will also be recorded and made available, and we'll share the link after the call. Today on the call, joining us, we have Susan Hedstrom, who's the Executive Director of FPWR, myself, and Dr. Theresa Strong, who's the Director of the Research Programs for One Small Step. The One Small Step Development Committee, which we meet several times over the phone and work to support all of the hosts that we have in Canada and the United States and around the world, really, is made up of these people that you see on your screen: Susan Hedstrom, myself, Sarah Peden, Joe Olivax, Rebecca McWilliams, Melissa Demand, Carol Elquall is our Canadian liaison, and Hannah Berger is the Development Director for FPWR.
And Dana, I just want to let everyone on the phone know what's amazing every year is how we see such amazing leaders come from our community, and the people that we have invited onto the development committee are truly amazing leaders and mentors for our team. So anybody who has questions throughout the year, welcome to reach out to any of these team members.
So on today's call, we're going to talk about the FPWR research program and how the One Small Step funds are so important to funding research, why you should choose One Small Step and to fundraise, how we support our hosts, if you're hosting an event, what the first steps you are going to take, and we'll close with the next date and time of our next conference. So right now I'm going to introduce Dr. Theresa Strong, who's going to discuss the funds that One Small Step generates and how they impact research. Dr. Theresa Strong has been managing the FPWR grants program since 2003. She's one of the founding members of FPWR, and her son, Daniel, who's 20 years old, has PWS.
Thanks, Dana. This is Theresa. I'm really pleased to be I'm so pleased to be participating in the webinar today and have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about how important the efforts of everyone who holds One Small Step events is for our organization, but really more importantly for PWS research overall. And I think it would really be impossible to overstate how critical the work that our hosts do is. So I just want to start by thanking everyone who's on this call, who has done walks in the past, who is thinking about doing a walk, or who is going to be doing their first walk or event this year. I know that taking on a project such as a One Small Step walk is a huge commitment. I also know you guys are probably juggling therapy appointments and doctor's appointments and other kids, and maybe you're trying to actually have a social life at some point. So I understand that this is a real challenge from that perspective. I also can appreciate that for many folks it's really outside of your comfort zone in one way or another. I'm sure most of you did not envision yourself as fundraisers. So I just want to express how truly grateful I am that you are taking this opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone probably and put in a lot of work And I want to assure you that your efforts are well spent, that we're really working very hard to use the funds that are raised through One Small Step as efficiently as we can to support the best research, that we're being quite proactive in seeking out the best studies and following up with our researchers to make sure that your funds are being well spent. And that applies to everyone on our board of directors, many of whom run events as well. Our scientific advisory board, I think one thing that I enjoy about working with them is they really are trying to safeguard the families. They realize that this is not an easy thing to raise this much money, and they're really careful about how we spend it. So we try to get the biggest impact that we can, leverage the funds however we can. And literally, we would not be able to do the foundation's work were it not for each and every one of you taking the time and effort to bring these funds in. So I just want to start by saying how much I really appreciate each of you. Also, if you have suggestions and comments or questions about the science or the process, please feel free to email me, and I'd be happy to respond by email or chat with you. So, and that goes for today as well as throughout the year. So please feel free to contact me directly. So, sorry, now to get down to business. When I think about the funds from One Small Step and I think about what it allows us to do, two things really come to mind. One is that it gives us consistency. The researchers all over the globe that are considering doing PWS research realize that we are now a reliable source of funding. And for anyone who's thinking about doing PWS, that's huge because it keeps them thinking about keeping PWS at the front of their mind, thinking about the new projects that they can do to PWS because they know they can come to us for funding when they come up with a new idea. And I think that's hugely important. This year, because of your efforts, we're going to be able to offer 2 requests for applications. So in past years, we had 1 funding cycle, and that was fine, except there were a lot of projects that were really good but had something that needed to be fixed. And so those projects wouldn't get funded, and the investigators would have to wait a whole nother year to go ahead and resubmit. So now they'll have the opportunity to do a much faster turnaround, so we're able to accelerate the research even more. The other thing that comes to mind in thinking about these funds is the flexibility that it allows us. And that has also just been huge over the past couple of years. So because we know, for example, that already in January we have so many walks and events signed up, it gives us the flexibility moving forward that if we see an exceptional opportunity come up, we can seek out that scientist, make a plan, and leverage some funds to move things faster. So we are part of those funds go to ideas that the scientists bring to us, and part of those funds go to ideas that we seek out with scientists when exceptional opportunities come along. So that allows us to work proactively and accelerate the research. Thank you, Dana, for advancing. So just to recap from 2014, which was an amazing year, we were able to fund 17 different research projects, everything from the basic science of PWS through clinical trials. We were able to expend over $1 million on those projects. Which again included everything from studies in a dish to drug development to understanding the gut microbiome to 3 clinical trials. So that's really remarkable, sort of the breadth of the research that we're able to support, as well as hitting both the longer term goals of understanding what's going on in PWS so that we can be more intelligent about trying to develop therapies, as well as testing out some of the therapies that we have on hand now and either seeing that they're going to work or kind of checking them off the list if they're not going to work. Either way, the answer is important to us. And I just wanted to mention 2 of those on the next slide, Dana. Of course, spending $1 million on research is wonderful, but what we're all really keyed in on and what is really important to our kids is outcomes of those trials. So not only do we want to spend the money on the trials, but we want to get outcomes that are meaningful and, you know, either, as I said, have a give us a clear answer. Is this something to pursue? And just to, as an example of that, one of the trials that we've been supporting this year, so we started this funding in July of 2014, and that is a trial to look at diazoxide in patients with PWS. Virginia Comunis is working with Essentialis to get that done, and that clinical trial is almost completed now. So that's a really quick turnaround, and so we anticipate that sometime during 2015 we will have an answer. Either that drug is something that is useful to increase energy expenditure and potentially reduce appetite in people with PWS, and it should be further pursued, or it's not, and then we can kind of check that off the list and move on to the next one. So that's what we want to be doing. We want a quick turnaround. We want to get an answer. The other study that I would like to mention is a study by Dr. Leibel. Those of you who were at the New York City conference in November will remember Dr. Leibel because he's just a fabulous speaker. He is a hugely accomplished scientist, and to me, the best scientists are the scientists who are not only really smart in the laboratory, but are able to communicate to non-scientists really well, and he does that in spades. And he's been looking, he's one of those cases in which we had been supporting him, and he came to us requesting some extra funds, and because of all of you, we were able to give him some additional support, looking at the role of one of those snow RNAs, that, you know, the funny genetics on chromosome 15, and what they're actually doing in the cell. And he came to us and said that he was doing some new techniques and he would like some additional support for that, and we were able to give him that. And on the next slide, Dana, what's come out of that is actually a publication that was just published a couple of weeks ago. So he's been working on the stem cells that we can get from individuals with PWS from the skin cells, and it essentially allows scientists to characterize cells from PWS in a dish. But the problem that the entire field had been having is they were not able to change those cells into neurons like the neurons in the hypothalamus. And of course we know in PWS that's where the business is going on. That's where things don't seem right, but nobody's been able to look at human neurons that are behaving like neurons from the hypothalamus in a dish. And so it's the entire field of neurobiology, stem cells, has been kind of held up by this roadblock. Well, Dr. Leibel and the student that we're supporting in his lab have just published that they're able to now differentiate those neurons, turn them into the hypothalamic neurons. So they are now going to take our PWS cells and essentially be able to make those neurons in a dish, and that is really going to allow them to study them, see if they are behaving, how differently they're behaving from normal, whether they're functioning correctly, and also then it gives you the option of putting drugs on those cells and seeing if there's drugs, if you can find a deficit, which they expect to find, see what drugs are going to compensate for that. So it really makes the process of identifying useful drugs much, much faster. So this is just an example of how having a little bit of extra funds through one small step has allowed us to support someone who is doing wonderful work, advancing the field, and now we'll take that study to the next level. So that's very exciting. So looking ahead for this year, as I said, we're going to have, we've just completed a round of funding. We've identified 7 new projects that have been selected for funding, and I'll talk about those in a webinar next month. So I'm excited to tell you about that. It's a lot of really good basic science as well as one clinical project. And then right away, because we're moving to this having 2 deadlines per year, we have our next letters of intent due January 30th. So we're looking forward. We've gotten a lot of chatter, a lot of people calling us up saying, hey, I've got this idea. Is this something that the foundation would be interested in? And it's been great sort of pre-screening and talking to those scientists ahead of time and sharing with them what's important to our families so that they get the best application into us. And so we're going to have those on January 30th. We're also using funds to support a mental health workshop in Bethesda in March, where we're bringing about 45 scientists from around the world who are psychiatrists, psychologists, imaging people who have expertise in PWS and also expertise in other neurodevelopmental disorders to really make a plan as to how we can improve the long-term mental health of people with PWS. So we're thrilled about that, and we're really looking for action items coming out of that. And then we're going to be able to, with these funds, continue to do as we've done over the last year or two, working closely and actively with biotech companies as well as academic labs to move new therapies from preclinical studies through the clinical process, test them in individuals with PWS, and hopefully help develop some new therapies that are going to help our kids. And to do that, we have also just joined the National Organization for Rare Disorders, which is going to be, I think, a huge help in sort of general advocacy. And we've also joined the Clinical Trials Transformation Initiative, which is a public-private partnership with pharmaceutical companies, academic organizations, the FDA, and advocacy groups to streamline the clinical trial process and get drugs, effective drugs and safe drugs, to patients more quickly. So we're really looking forward to an exciting year. There's so many good things going on, both on the basic science side and on the therapeutic side. And I just have to thank you again for making the effort to support us so that we can do this and accelerate the research as much as possible. So,
thank you so much, Theresa. That is so exciting. The research is so exciting, and I'm excited that One Small Step can support it. One of the reasons that I support One Small Step and volunteer for FPWR and One Small Step is because Ella is so small. When she was born, I just felt like the one thing we can do is support research to give her the best life possible, and 100% of the proceeds from One Small Step events fund PWS research, and to me that's super exciting and very, very, very important.
Yeah, I agree.
So now I'm going to introduce Susan Hedstrom. I'm sure all of you know Susan. She's the executive director of FPWR. She went to her first conference in 2009, and she is a parent just like all of us. She is mom to Jaden, who's 5 years old with PWS. Susan's going to talk about the online system that can help you fundraise.
Thank you, Dana. Thanks so much for everybody for joining us today. It really is exciting to have a chance to speak with all of you. When I first joined the organization, Jaden was only a few months old. I remember very clearly going to my first conference and meeting several other families and really feeling a part of a community and realizing that I wasn't on this journey alone, that there were researchers who cared about my son and who were doing all of this work in the background for us. And I realized very quickly that I had to do something because, like many of you, I'm not content to allow my son's future to be dictated by what the medical journals say. I'm not content to have him live in my home or in a group home for his life. I want him to have independence. I want him to be able to go to college. I want him to be able to have a meaningful job. And I recognize that in order for him to have those things, we have to have breakthroughs in research, which means that we have to fund research. And that's where our community really comes into play, is funding, bringing in funding so that we can start doing clinical studies, so that we can direct research and hopefully find some answers to this complex puzzle that we're all facing. So to help us, FPWR created One Small Step, and along with that, we have an online system. So when you go to onesmallstep.fpwr.org, you'll see our homepage. What's really exciting about our homepage is our thermometer. If any of you are friends with me on Facebook, you know that right around June or July, I start getting this addiction. I'm checking the thermometer probably every 10 minutes to see where we're at in relationship to our goals. And I'm telling you, it gets exciting, because you will go see the thermometer and a few minutes later it will have raised by thousands of dollars. And to me, that equates to faster research. So this year, our goal is going to be 1.6 million. I have no doubt that we're going to blow that out of the water. So you'll see on our thermometer this year that it's set at 1.6. You'll also see our top 10 locations and our top 5 fundraisers. I will tell you, for those of you who are not overly familiar with One Small Step, as the year progresses, there begins to be a slightly friendly and competitive competition over who will be our top location. What we've done in the past is the top 3 U.S. events are considered for a SPWR U.S. conference. So Dana was on the line earlier. Several years ago, she attended one of our conferences in Philly. She was amazed at the conference, and she told me that day, I'm going to take this conference to New York. So let's see, this would have been in 2013, she put together her first walk. She raised over $100,000, and she became our top event for the year. She got to have the SPWR conference in New York last year, and it was an amazing conference. Dana really helped me put all of it together, and for any of you who attended, you can attest, it was an amazing experience. Last year, we had a little competition. By little, I really mean huge competition between Philly and Austin, Texas, for the conference. And you know, if you've seen our conference announcements, Austin did win. They were our top location from last year, and we'll be having our conference in Austin this year. So for any of you who have a slightly competitive streak in you, the top location does get first priority for taking the U.S. conference. So I'm looking forward to seeing who will be interested in competing in that little competition. One Small Step, you know, is all about recognizing our participants. So we do include recognizing our top fundraisers as well. And what's really great about this system is that it has been all built in-house by SPWR. So unlike using Active or First Giving, we're not losing any donations to third-party fees. Anytime someone uses a credit card, there is a credit card processing fee. That's normal. That's when you walk into Macy's and you make a purchase, Macy's is paying a credit card fee, so that's very standard. But we're not paying Active or any other services to manage our sites for us. Once you have registered your event, I will set up an event page for you on our website. This is a great place for you to put your event details. So you can change the photo to make it unique for your event. You can also add in your event details. It'll include a map. I will tell you, we are giving our site a facelift. The facelift will likely be revealed in the end of March or early April. So a lot of what you're seeing now is going to change, but it's absolutely changing for the better. You'll still get to see your top fundraisers listed. You're still going to have a thermometer and a photo, but you're going to have a little bit more ability for customization on the next site. In addition to being able to adjust your goal, your photo, your details, you can also add a PDF. So if you have a flyer specific for your event, we can insert that onto your page as well so that people can download and print your event flyer. Within each event, we have the personal page, and this is what really makes One Small Step so successful. Every host and fundraiser creates a personal page online. This page is customized with your story, your photo, or YouTube video. You get to set your own personal goal. So this is separate from your event goal. Let's say the event goal is to raise $5,000. You as an individual are then going to create a personal page, and you'll have your own personal goal for fundraising. As a host, we want to encourage all of our family and friends to create these personal pages, because if we share our stories and we then send our stories out to our contacts, they are going to be moved. They want to support us because of our personal connection with them. So we're going to set up as many personal pages as we can within each event. And the personal page is going to track your individual goal. It's going to list all of your donors. Your donors has the options of leaving a message for you as well. And again, you can update your page anytime. So if you want to update a photo or update your video, you can do that and then reshare your page and encourage more traffic to come back and view your page again. Last but not least, One Small Step has what we call host management. This is a back-end page for hosts only, so that you can go in and you can edit your details, edit your photo. It allows you to email your fundraisers. So a fundraiser would be someone who has registered under your event and created a page. You'll be able to email all of them directly through One Small Step. You can view your event statistics, so how much have you raised, how many of those donations have been made online, which is through a credit card, versus offline, which would be someone who had mailed in a check. You can see how many people have created personal pages under your event, how many donations your event has received. Those are just some very basic statistics. You can also download reports. So anyone who has RSVP'd for your event, you'll see a report that tells you who's coming, their addresses, their contact information. You can add offline donations. So let's say someone gives you a check for $200. You can put that immediately onto your thermometer so you see that rise in your thermometer without waiting for the check to be received by FPWR. And last but not least, we are giving you access to tons of fantastic documents that are all ready to go. You simply have to download them, print them. In some cases, you can customize them with your own event details. And all of this is accessible through host management. Dana, that's all I have for now. You can go ahead and take it back.
Thanks, Susan. As I mentioned, when Ella was born, we wanted to get involved in some way, and so my highest priority was funding research for her, and that's how we found FPWR. Our first year, we hosted a virtual event where I ran a half marathon and people sponsored me. We raised over $20,000 in just a couple of weeks, and it was really, really empowering to feel like I had some sort of control over her future and by contributing to this research that was happening. And over just the past 2.5 years, to see the leaps that the research has made is inspiring, it's exciting, and it just makes me want to do more for FPWR, for One Small Step, and to continue to host events. And I honestly can't say it enough to people, new parents that I meet. I was not a fundraiser. I never sold a box of Girl Scout cookies. I never sold a roll of wrapping paper when I was in elementary school. But this is the only thing that I can do for Ella, and it just gives me such a wonderful feeling. And I encourage all of you to do something, host some sort of event, or do a virtual walk, or I saw somebody do a plank challenge. Like, there are just so many wonderful things that you can do to participate in One Small Step. It's not a cookie cutter program. We can help you customize your ideas or event in any way that you would like. It's really a team building experience to be part of the One Small Step system. So our One Small Step Development Committee helps by providing personal support to our hosts. New and returning hosts can be set up with host mentors, which are just previous hosts. So hosts that have hosted an event similar to what you're envisioning your event to be. So perhaps if you want to have a 5K, you might be teamed up with me and I'll help you walk through that process. Or if your event is larger, you might be teamed up with me or Rebecca McWilliams. And then if you're hosting a family fun day, we'll find somebody that has hosted an event like that, just to support you and help you through your planning process to make everything as easy as possible. We also provide monthly webinars where we provide opportunities to learn more about the One Small Step program, about planning, answer any questions that you might have, and we always have experts on the call. We also, when you become a registered host, add you to the private Facebook page where you can confidentially ask questions about your event, possibly about sponsorship opportunities or rallying the troops, whatever it is. We have a nice secure location for you to ask questions that won't be seen by all of your friends and family on Facebook. And finally, as I mentioned, when you host a One Small Step event, you join a team. It really does, you become part of this really cool group of parents that are doing something to ensure that their children can live the happy, full, and independent lives that they deserve. Over the years, the people involved in One Small Step have created lots of documents and guides to assist you in the process. We have planning guides and day of guides, so you know that when people arrive at your event, how registration should go and how the rest of your event can go. Fundraising guides to help provide you with tips and tricks for fundraising. We have sponsorship guides that can help you secure sponsors with plenty of information and instructions and ideas, just because it's silly to recreate the wheel. All of our guides are available through your host management section, and then of course you can reach out to any of us and we'll be happy to email you anything that you need. This is just a sample of one of our flyers that will be available this year. It's still going through the designing process, so it may be changed a little bit, but this flyer will be customizable. So when you go into your host management section, you'll be able to download things, and then certain portions of it can be swapped out to house your information for your specific event. It's really nice to be able to not have to start from scratch with every single thing. Hosting an event can be super easy in this way. We've already gotten you so many documents and templates that allow you to just, with the click of your mouse, have everything at your fingertips. We also have invitation postcards available, letters for potential sponsors, sponsorship packages, and much more. This is what the back end of host management looks like when you click on your Documents tab. It's called Host Central, and you have this drop-down menu of each of these folders opens up to have lots of different documents that you can download. Our 501c3 IRS determination letter is in there. There are your planning guides. We have materials specifically for our European hosts or our French materials. Lots and lots of stuff that's already been created for you to just click on and download and personalize. I'm now going to introduce Hannah Berger. Hannah is the Director of Development for FPWR. She just joined or came on board with FPWR in 2014, but she's quickly become a member of our family. She's wonderful, and she's going to help us this year through One Small Step with sponsorship. So Hannah.
Thanks, Dana. Hi, everyone. Such a pleasure to be speaking with all of you. I want to thank you in advance for your interest in supporting the Foundation for Prader-Willi Research. As Dana mentioned, I came on board about 7 months ago, but I feel like I have very quickly become enmeshed in the community, and I'm so incredibly grateful that I get to be a part of this outstanding family. So I am here as a professional fundraiser. You know, both Susan and Dana have alluded to the fact that when they started out, they did not consider themselves fundraisers, but I will tell you that they have both become very astute at what I make a profession. So I am here to make sure you feel well supported. I'm also here to help assist you with any sort of national sponsorships. So let's say you have a friend that works for a major corporation in your hometown and you want to approach their company about how they can get involved in supporting FPWR on a larger level. I am here to take meetings with you, coach you through those conversations you have with them, and put together any materials you might need. As Dana mentioned, in the host management system, once you get signed up on the One Small Step platform, you will find a slew of templates, including a sponsorship package. But like I said, that is just a starting point. So if you need any personalized assistance, I am here to help. My contact information will be shared later, and you should feel free to email, call, or reach out to me on Facebook at any time. I'm thrilled to be a part of the organization, as I said, and I'm here to help you tell your story so that we can raise all kinds of money for research. So thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. In addition to the rest of the things that FPWR and One Small Step provide you with during your planning process, we provide you with t-shirts for your walk participants. So I am your t-shirt coordinator for the United States walkers, and runners. And I basically contact hosts a few weeks before their event, and we work together to create a t-shirt order for the people that will be attending your walk, and the shirts are just shipped directly to you. Beginning last year, we had a unique opportunity to work with a printer who was able to print local sponsorships on the shirts as well as the national sponsors. So Hannah and I can get you more information about how to secure sponsors for your local event as well. In addition to that, all of the fundraisers that participate in One Small Step are eligible to win prizes. So not only the host of the walk, but any people that create fundraising pages under your event that raise a minimum of $200 are entered to win a tablet, which is a really fun thing that you can use to motivate your fundraisers to sign up and to continue to fundraise. And then for PWS families only, in my opinion, this is the best prize of all. For every $1,000 raised, you can earn one entry for a trip to the 2015 FPWR conference in Austin, Texas. It just makes fundraising that much more motivational.
So, we have found in the past that these prizes, when used to motivate our fundraisers, are really quite an incentive. You'll find that most of your fundraisers will raise $200 because they want to be entered to win the tablet. And what's really great, when you fundraise with FPWR, your chances of winning are actually pretty high. I think that they're much higher than most other contests, in that we typically have fewer than 1,000 people who are actively fundraising on One Small Step. So your chances of winning the tablet are better than 1 in 1,000. And again, if you're a family, your chances are probably even closer to 1 in 200. And again, if you raise $1,000 and you're a Prader-Willi family, then you get to be entered to win a trip to the conference. So what's involved in hosting a One Small Step event? I get this a lot. People ask me, what do I have to do? And the answer is simple. It's as little or as much as you want to do. We recognize that different people have different amounts of free time. They have different networks. And so we are going to accommodate you and help support you create an event that meets your vision. So if you want to plan an event for 10 people, we're going to help you with that. If you want to plan an event for 100 or 500 people, we're going to help you with that as well. The basic steps are the same. First, you need to find a location and set a date. Oftentimes, the walks take place at a park or a nature trail. Perhaps, some of our events have actually had their walks around the high school track. So you can get creative as far as where you want to host your event. Oftentimes, you will be required to have some sort of permit. So whoever is responsible for that location, the entity, typically your city parks and rec department, they'll require a permit. It's a very simple process. You can fill out the permit. If there is a permit fee, FPWR can cover that fee for you. If they require insurance, we have an insurance certificate for you. It's all very, very simple. So you set up once you have that, once you start that permit application, you'll have your date, you'll have your location, and the rest of it is really very similar to having a birthday party. You need to send out your invitations. You need to invite everybody you can think of. Invite your family, your friends, your coworkers. Ask them to come out and support you. They are going to come to your event because of your personal connection with them. If there's any other Prader-Willi families near you, invite them to come along as well. In fact, if you can invite them to be part of your planning committee, they'll be even more invested in your walk, making the planning that much easier. So it's up to you and what you feel comfortable with. But the most important thing is setting up those fundraising pages and sharing them with your family and friends. 90% of the work of a One Small Step walk actually happens before the walk. And that's true for fundraising as well. So you share your page with your family and friends. They make they either make a page themselves or they make a donation. You'll find that 90% of that is all finished the day before your walk. The walk itself is just an excuse to celebrate. So you ask, everyone arrives, you thank them for having fundraised, you have a good time, you go for a short walk, and it's up to you if you want to offer anything beyond that. Some people like to have a light snack. Some people do a light lunch. I say water is fine. Anything above and beyond that is absolutely optional. If you wanted to have, kiddie events, you can do that. But again, that is optional. So it's really setting up the vision. What do you envision your walk being? And then planning the steps needed to make that vision come to life. And that's what Dana and myself and Hannah are all here to help you with, as well as the rest of the One Small Step team. I think you'll find very quickly that we have a lot of experienced hosts on the team now, and they're all more than welcome to, or more than willing to help you get started and answer your questions. So, are you ready? Do you want to take your first steps? If so, it's very simple. We need you to register your event. I want you to go to onesmallstep.spwr.org. There's a big blue button that says Host a Walk. Click on that button. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, you're going to see where you can register your event. That will send me your request. I'll set up your event page. I'll contact you. We'll try to get a conversation going. What we really need to know from you is what's your vision, so that Dana and I can help you make that vision come to life. Once you've registered your event, then you can go out, find and reserve your location. And we want to make sure that we have created that personal fundraising page. Dana, have there been any questions coming up throughout the course of the webinar? I don't have access to seeing that.
Nope, there have been no questions.
There's no questions. We must be so well prepared and informative that nobody has any questions. I would like to open this up to anybody who does have a question. We can answer questions in two ways. If you raise your hand, we can take you off of mute, and that will allow us to just chit-chat a little bit. Otherwise, if you prefer to remain more anonymous, you can type in a question, and we would be happy to address it that way as well. Dana, can you see the questions and hands, and do you have access to being able to unmute people?
I don't think so. I can't see any hands. I can see the written questions, and there haven't been any.
Okay, so I'm going to take this presentation off, and let's look and see. So Charlotte, I see that your hand is raised. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you so that we can talk and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Susan.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, thank you. I actually did type a couple of questions too, so I don't know if they weren't coming across, but I'll just go ahead and ask them now that I'm unmuted. My name's Charlotte McClary. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and I will be hosting my first event in May. So thank you guys for the presentation and all of the help that you've given me so far. It's very much appreciated on this end. So just a couple of questions. When you talked about the site undergoing maintenance here in the near future, I just wanted to make sure that all of the current web links and pages that we have established would remain intact when that happens.
Yes, they will. When we switch to the new design, everything that is currently on the website will be moved over to the new one. We're actually it'll be like flipping a switch, and you'll see the new design. All content will still.
Great, because I am already highly publicizing my links, so I just don't want anybody to get confused. The other question I had was in regards to the sponsorship information that you were discussing when you were talking about T-shirts. And you mentioned, with a minimum donation, a local sponsor could be included on a T-shirt. What do you look at as that kind of minimum donation from, say, like our employers or a local business or something of that nature?
So a national level sponsor will be printed on all T-shirts throughout the U.S. or throughout Canada. That's a $5,000 level sponsor. However, if you want to have a sponsor printed on your local T-shirt, that's $1,000, and that would only be printed on the shirts that were in your. So when we print T-shirts, we actually print them we do several orders at a time. So your local logo would go on whomever's shirts were printed at the same time as yours.
Okay.
So it actually ends up going to more than just your one event. It goes to a couple events.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so I do, Rachel, I see your hand is raised as well. Charlotte, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you again. And Rachel, I am unmuting you. Hi, Rachel.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
Thanks. This was a really helpful webinar, and what an awesome idea, because I'm sure there are, like me, I'm a new mom to all of this, and yeah, and it's great to see that there is so much support for organizing a big event. And I think Susan and Dana, you both know that I'm trying to organize something for our neighborhood that's a little it would be a little different than the One Small Step walk, but similar in concept. And I'm wondering if it's possible for people who maybe want to host, like this would be a race, the people who maybe want to host an event can still get access to these host materials, even though it's not theoretically a walk. How would
Absolutely. Rachel, if you choose to not host a One Small Step event, you will work with myself or Hannah, depending on the scope of the event, and we can provide you with these same materials. Any FCWR event can have access to our materials.
Oh, okay, awesome. And then one other question is, and I don't know if anyone has done this, but is it possible to get access to, instead of like a T-shirt, maybe like a wristband for FPWR or some other type of material or collateral or something that would, help to advertise the organization, but not necessarily like a T-shirt?
Sure. So when it comes to collateral, we always have brochures on hand. Other items tend to come and go. So right now I do have the silicone bracelets, which I give to our events as needed that are not One Small Step events. One Small Step events get the T-shirts. I did see a question about, we have lots of questions about T-shirts actually. So T-shirts are given out to our walk participants as a token of our gratitude. We do not sell T-shirts. T-shirts are, in our opinion, priceless. So people are not buying T-shirts for $40. What we're asking is, or what we're telling our hosts is that any fundraiser who raises or donates $40, we are going to say thank you for their participation by giving them a free T-shirt at our event. We don't ship them out to people, so they do need to attend your event, but they will get a free T-shirt if they fundraise. And kids always get free shirts, so we don't expect little kids to come in and say that they fundraise. When they attend your event, we will make sure that we have T-shirts available for them. Going back to some of the questions, Miranda was asking, is on-demand printing available for Canada as well? Canada, Carol Elkall is on the call here, I believe. Nope, she's not on the call. She will be handling all Canadian T-shirt orders, and I know that they're changing vendors this year. I do not know if they will have on-demand printing or if they will be printing one bulk order. So the answer to that is I don't know, but we will find out for you. Kelly, you had a question about national sponsors, and is it too late to get national sponsors on the T-shirts? The answer again is no. Because we print T-shirts on demand, we can add sponsors at any time. So if we get a national sponsor after our first shirt printing, we'll put those sponsors onto the next shirt printing and all subsequent orders. So that's something that we just need to be upfront with our sponsors. In the U.S., we print approximately 5,000 T-shirts a year. All of those T-shirts will have logos on them from the point that the sponsor has been added to our program. So if a sponsor comes on board right now, between now and April, their logo will be on every T-shirt we print because our first event right now is scheduled for May. If a sponsor comes on in June, then their logo will be on every event from that point on. I hope that that answers that question. Can we have local sponsors printed on T-shirts? The answer was yes. The expectation is that they would be supporting your event at $1,000 or more, and it's not, and it's for monetary contributions only. Do I need to know where and when I want to have the event before I register an event? No, you do not. If you want to register your event, you can do so at any time. The only information that we're asking at the time of registration is the event location, meaning your city, and that can even be adjusted. So let's say that you register and you live in Oceanside, but you're not quite sure where your walk is going to be. You could say that your location is Oceanside, and the next month when you set the location, we can change that location name to whatever it is. So everything can be changed. We are having another tablet draw this month if we get 50 events signed up before January 31st. So if you're planning on hosting an event, I encourage you to register your event even if you don't have the date and location finalized. Rachel, I think that your hand is up. I'm not sure if that was from before or not. Did you have another question?
No, I'm set. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so that was just the same one. All right, I'm going to put you on mute again. Oh, and Kelly Garner is on the line here. Apparently, she's one of our competitive streak hosts here. She's telling me that the conference is coming to California in 2016. Kelly, I would love a conference in California. That would make me incredibly happy, but I think that you're going to have some competition in order to do that. And another question, how do people estimate how many people will be attending their event? I can tell you this isn't just a challenge for first-year hosts. It's a challenge every year trying to determine how many people will attend your event. One Small Step does have a system in place where if a person donates, we will automatically ask them if they're coming to your event so that they can RSVP. That RSVP is then put into your registration report. So you can pull the report and it'll show you who's planning on coming to your event. Please do not rely on Facebook as an indicator of how many people will come to your event. Facebook grossly overestimates attendance because everybody wants to support you, so they use the I'm attending button as they would a like button. And they don't tend to actually attend your event. So use your registration report, and like any event planning, I always estimate that about 10% of people who say they're coming won't, but about 10% of people, or another 10% of people will come who didn't register. So those registration report numbers actually tend to be fairly accurate. Most people want to know attendance in order to order t-shirts. Dana will help you order the t-shirts based on your current attendance and fundraising progress. So if you want, for example, to order 100 t-shirts, we're going to look at your thermometer and make sure that your fundraising to date supports that order. So we're going to be looking for $4,000 raised if you want to order 100 t-shirts. It's $40 a t-shirt is a general rule of thumb. Okay, Kelly's telling me to bring it on. She really wants to compete here. I love it. It's January, and she's already trying to get the conference out there. Well, Kelly, I have to tell you, you better register your event. We need to get those fundraising pages up and going so that you can compete here. All right, can we have an event anytime, or does it need to be done between certain months? Missy, we have events all year long. We want to make hosting an event as easy for you as possible. So I always suggest to our hosts, choose a date that works for you, works for your community, works for your weather. If you're on the East Coast and it snows, you probably don't want to host an event in February unless you're planning something indoors. Summer months tend to be a little bit busier for families. A lot of people go on vacations. It might be hard to get the big group of people out in summer months, but we have plenty of events in June and July that actually do really, really well. I have found that our most popular months for hosting events tend to be late September and October because the weather is mild, people are all in town, so there is that benefit. We will be hosting, or we will be drawing a winner to attend our Austin conference, which is September 25th through 27th. So we'll be setting the date for that draw in August. If you're having an event in October, it might be harder for people to raise the $1,000 to get an entry for that conference, but it can be done. It's just going to require a little bit more communication and messaging for you. So those are the different things that I would consider when setting dates for hosting an event. Oh, Dana, we've got some competition here. Rhode Island thinks that they're going to get the conference in 2016.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it's so exciting.
And Police is already registered, so.
Yeah. I just want to say that one of the keys, I think, to having a successful fundraiser through One Small Step is to get as many people as you can to set up their own fundraising pages. So that's something that we might touch on a later call, but just quickly, if you are registering for your event and then you're going to contact your family and friends, don't ask them right away to donate to you. Ask them to set up their own page. The more fundraising pages you have, the more money you'll probably raise.
Absolutely. And I have a personal example of this case. I had a very generous friend who came out to my very first walk. She didn't want to make a fundraising page. She was very clear. She wasn't a fundraiser, and she was going to make a donation. So she donated $250, and I was thrilled. I mean, that's a huge donation. Well, the next year, she decided that, she was moved by the event and she wanted to do more. She set up a personal fundraising page. She raised $3,000, and she's done that the last 3 years. So I always tell people, if you can convert a donor into someone who creates a fundraising page, they're going to end up fundraising at least 4 times as much as they would have given. So if they would have given $50, they're going to raise $200. So as a host, I know we all want to be the top fundraiser under our event, but if you're doing your host responsibility well, you're actually not going to be that top fundraiser, because everyone who would have donated to you is creating their own personal page. It's a little humbling for those of us who are competitive, Kelly, but recognize that as a host, all of that funding that's coming in is truly an attribute to your efforts. So what are family and friends supposed to put on their personal page? They're supposed to put their own personal story. So when someone creates a personal page, we have a very default story that goes up, thank you for visiting my personal page. Someone I love has Prader-Willi syndrome and I'm raising money. It's very generic and cookie cutter. If you want to have a successful fundraising page, you are going to modify that and put your story there. So what if I'm a grandparent or I'm a friend? What am I supposed to put, right? It's not my child. You put your personal story. Everyone who's raising funds has been touched by Prader-Willi syndrome in some way. So when my friend makes her fundraising page, her story is something along the lines of, my good friend's son has Prader-Willi syndrome. He's a wonderful young man who loves theater, loves to sing, is doing wonderful in school, but he has a lot of challenges. And she would just explain what her experience has been. Grandparents can do the same. I've seen some incredibly moving stories from people who set up fundraising pages. And since you guys can all see my screen, don't look too closely. But if you go to any one of these people's fundraising pages, you're going to see their personal story. So I recommend going and looking and seeing what other people have done. This page here is, I believe this is Rhonda Jensen's page. She's put up a photo. This is Eva's story. She has personalized her, her story page here as well. Another common question that I often get revolves around sponsorship. And, first of all, I just really want to stress that sponsorship is 100% optional. You can hold a very successful event without going and getting local sponsors. So if you don't have a lot of time at your leisure, you don't feel pressured to get sponsors. However, for a host, who do want to get sponsors. We do have a sponsorship guide available that was written by Sarah Peden, a volunteer. She has had incredible success bringing on local sponsors for her event. And again, if you want to start approaching corporate sponsors or national level sponsors, Hannah can help you with that as well. The sponsorship guide that we have put, or excuse me, the sponsorship package that we have put together has all the basic details about what is one small step, what does sponsorship look like, what are some generic sponsorship options that we have available for you. But for our corporate sponsors, we will customize this package. We will customize what perks they receive, and Hannah can help you with that. So if you're looking at, for example, April, if you wanted to contact Hollister or PacSun, Hannah would be able to work with you on some of those leads. I will say that the most successful hosts tend to have a connection within those corporations already. It tends to require a contact within the organization in order to successfully get that sponsorship. Okay, Charlotte, I see that your hand's up, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You've been unmuted, Charlotte.
Thank you. In regards to sponsorship, so kind of aside from the financial sponsorship, has anybody had any local success in getting like a clinical sponsor? I know in Madison, a lot of the families in the area see the same pediatric endocrinologist, and he's amazing and very in tune with PWS and research and all of the things that come with it. So I've been thinking about, approaching him either to publicize the event with other families he might be working with, or even potentially attend the event or be some sort of champion. And I just wondered if anybody else had experience with that.
Mm-hmm. So I myself, we have a local Prader-Willi clinic. The clinic sees 40 or more patients a year. So every year I ask if they would please send out my invitation postcards, and they always say yes. So I stamp the postcards and I send them to the Prader-Willi clinic, and then they actually mail them out for me. So that, because they can't share their participants' information, but they can send out the postcards. So that is certainly one way of involving your PWS clinic or endocrinologist, especially if they see other families. You could also just ask them when they see patients to give out the postcard as well. Some families have received medical offices support. So Children's Hospital in Ohio comes back and supports one of our families every year. I believe we have another children's hospital that has also sponsored our event at a local level. And Joe Olabatz is the best advocate for this. He suggests taking a letter to everyone that provides you a service. So your insurance carrier, your dentist, your mortgage broker, all of these people, they want your continued business, and they're very likely to contribute to your event if you ask.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Anybody else think that they're going to be vying for our top location, taking on the conference next year? Dana's out. You can't. We do have. We won't let Dana take the conference back, and we won't let Austin take it back either. So you can only go back to the location every 3 years. So I think Philly might be competing for it again. They're pretty. Every year they have a pretty strong showing.
They do.
All right, so Lisa has a question. If your friends and family create their own pages and help you fundraise, does the money they raise go towards your goal and get considered as part of the total amount you raise? So Felicia, as a host, you get to have two thermometers. You get to have your event thermometer, and you also get to have your personal page thermometer. So all of the personal pages that are within your event will be reflected on your event thermometer. So let's say that you have a personal page and you raise $500. That $500 is going to go to your event. If your mom creates a personal page and she raises $500, your event thermometer is going to reflect $1,000, but your personal page will still say $500. So, you know, as a host, you will get recognition as for your event totals. So I'm going to show you an event that I know. Let's see. So HOMA has several pages set up for it right now. So we have Ashley, Megan, and Kyler. They've all raised funds. Megan is the host of the event, so she's raised $275 personally, and then everybody's totals are showing up on the event thermometer. These are great questions, you guys. So please, if you have any questions, keep them coming. I'm happy to stay on the line as long as you like so that we can answer all of your questions. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions coming up. So our next webinar is going to be March 12th. I strongly encourage all of you to attend. And if you have any friends on Facebook or not on Facebook, you know, Prader-Willi families, anyone who you think would like to get involved at a deeper level with the campaign, please invite them to come. It's never too late to start. You know, some of our event hosts don't jump on board until, you know, mid-year or even later. It only takes a couple of weeks to put together a small event, so we can add people anytime. So Dana, would you like to say anything before we wrap it up?
I just want to thank everyone for joining us on the call today. Again, I'm really excited about the 2015 season, and I appreciate you all hanging out for an hour of your time and being excited as well. I look forward to working with you all this year.
Wonderful. Until next time, you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan. Bye-bye.